Good evening. Before we proceed, I'd like to briefly turn the meeting over to one of our outstanding students who will receive the President's Award tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the dais Mr. Robert De La Rosa from Del Valle High School.
Thank you, Mr. Haggerty, and good evening, everyone. My name is Robert De La Rosa, and I am a junior at Del Valle High School at this month honoring of the President's Award. It is my honor and pleasure to call this meeting to order. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good evening, and welcome to the Ysleta Independent School District's meeting of the Board of Trustees. Whether you are here to address the board or to celebrate the accomplishments of those being honored here this evening, we are happy that you have taken the time to join us and invite you to take the opportunity to share your questions and comments with the board via the public comment portion of our meeting. Rules for participating in the public comment portion are available at the sign-up table. We would like to remind everyone that this is a board meeting, often attended by students, and ask that we all conduct ourselves in the manner that best represents the values and traditions of the Ysleta Independent School District. Please turn off or silence all cell phones, tablets, and other electronic devices, and thank you for your attendance. The April 20th board meeting is called to order at 6:04 p.m. We have a quorum with Mr. Rosales, Mr. Ramirez, Mrs. Woodruff, Mr. Pearson, Mrs. McLean, Ms. Duenas, and myself, Shane Haggerty. Trustee McLean, will you read the color guard script to prepare the audience for the presentation of colors by the Del Valle Junior ROTC?
It has become a tradition to honor our nation at each of our board meetings by presenting the colors, reciting the pledges of allegiance, and then posting the colors. The colors tonight are being presented by the Junior ROTC Color Guard from Del Valle High School. The Color Guard commander is Cadet Yvonne Davila. The other Color Guard members are Cadet Alexander Greenman, Cadet Angel Bustamante, Cadet Felicity Montoya. The pledge leader is Ariel Garcia, a 4th grade student at Del Valle Elementary School. Will you please stand for the presentations of the colors, the reciting of the pledges of allegiance and the Texas Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence. Please remain standing until the cadets have departed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now please join me in the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please join me in a moment of silence.
Beauregard, order. Beauregard, hold. Enter, eight. Right, eight. Forward, order.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Dr. De La Torre, do you have recognitions this evening?
President Haggerty, members of the board, esteemed guests, we have several recognitions this evening. With us is our Director of Public Relations, Ms. Patricia Ayala.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent De La Torre. We have numerous recognitions for you this evening. At this time, we ask that you please come to the front of the dais for the presentations. We also ask audience members to please remain seated until we have finished tonight's recognitions. Thank you. Our first recognition is in honor of Junior Robert De La Rosa, an aspiring filmmaker whose lifelong struggle with autism has inspired his heart for community service at Del Valle High School. While in elementary school, Robert endured and overcame the obstacles associated with his autism. As he grew older, his understanding of autism also grew, and now he uses his knowledge and experience to educate others about the disorder, particularly among his peers, teachers, and community. Robert's unique perspective and his commitment to increasing awareness of autism is helping him achieve another personal goal, to film his own movie. Having seen Robert's extraordinary passion, the producers of a local company called Double Scope Films are making a documentary about Robert and his efforts to make sure that his film becomes a reality. Robert's dedication to his cause and his selfless efforts to educate and help others is the reason we are honoring him tonight as one of Ysleta ISD's finest students. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to our President's Award recipient and Del Valle High School student, Robert De La Rosa. Accompanying Robert is his assistant principal, Mr. Felipe Barraza. If his classmates would like to come in and join him for a photograph, you are welcome to come up forward, please. And teachers, and anyone else who would like to join us. Let's hear it again for Robert. Our next recognition honors 4 students from Eastwood High School who won 4 gold medals at the Regional Swimming Championships in February. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the gold medal winning relay race team from Eastwood High School, starting with Thomas O'Byrne. Thomas also won gold in 2 individual freestyle races. Also, please help me welcome Jacob Allard. Jacob won the 2nd gold medal in the 100-yard backstroke race. Rounding out the relay team, please help me welcome Omar Torres. And last but not least, let's hear it for Manuel Hernandez. The students are accompanied by their coach, Mr. Emmanuel Gardea, and assistant principal, Daniel Gonzalez. Keep smiling, parents are coming. Let's hear it one more time for the Eastwood Troopers. Our next recognition is in honor of the Bel Air High School Law Enforcement Team, who were named Western Regional Champions for the 3rd consecutive year after winning 1st place in numerous individual and team categories at the Texas Public Service Association competition last month. Congratulations to these talented students. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Bel Air High School Law Enforcement Team, starting with Lupita Carrillo. Vanessa Carrillo. Edith Marquez. Luis Martinez. Melanie Montoya. Kenya Para. Weber Santiago. Juan Siller. Julissa Torres. And Abraham Vega. The students are accompanied by teachers, Mr. Sergio Martinez and Ms. Roxanne Parker, and principal, Mr. Luis Martinez. Keep smiling. Let's hear it again for outstanding Highlanders. Our next recognition honors two teams from Parkland High School's T-STEM Academy who took top honors last month at the state's 1080 National STEM League Dallas Spring Invitational Car Race. As a result of their first and second place finishes at the race, they are now invited to compete at the national competition in Florida next month. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Parkland High School T-STEM Academy team members, starting with Mario Aguilera, Cassandra Bravo, Jose Castellanos, Miguel Esparza, Christine Haynes, Melissa Lerma, Natalia Mauricio, Belén Murillo, Azucena Quiñones, Ana Quintana, Ricardo Rodríguez, Isaiah Torres, and Zachary Villanueva. The students are accompanied by teacher Ms. Laura Torres. T-STEM Academy Coordinator Ms. Arlene Gallegos. And principals Dr. Daryl Henson.
This is the only one. She's not. Victoria. She's a company. Student. Honor. Where? That's not honor.
Our next recognition is in honor of an East Point Elementary School student who took regional and state honors at two separate competitions last month. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the second place regional winner at the Elks Club Hoop Shoot Free Throw, Victoria Perez. Victoria is accompanied by her principal, Ms. Dana Boyd. Let's hear it for the East Point Spartan. Our next recognition honors the JROTC Precision Air Rifle Team from Del Valle High School. At the National JROTC Air Rifle Championships last month in Alabama, they competed against the nation's top 17 JROTC rifle teams from the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Marines, and won third place. This is the 9th consecutive year that Del Valle's rifle team competed in the national championships. Congratulations to these talented cadets. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Del Valle's JROTC Precision Air Rifle Team, starting with Cadet Jaime Escobar. Ryan Gonzalez. And Lorenzo Rivera. They are accompanied by instructors Sergeant First Class Melissa Brown Dinkins, and Lieutenant Colonel Gary Crafton. Also with him is Assistant Principal Mr. Felipe Barraza. Let's hear it again for the Conquistadores. Our next recognition is in honor of the Bel Air High School JROTC, which won first place at the U.S. Army's Cadet Leadership Competition, an online leadership contest that included participation by brigades from Texas, New Mexico, and 6 other states. These cadets have now earned an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C. in June to participate in a leadership forum with dignitaries such as the U.S. Secretary of Defense and other national-level legislators and military leaders. Congratulations to these cadets. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome JROTC cadets Guadalupe Carrillo, Vanessa Carrillo, Angel Cervantes, Raquel Lujan, Zeke Niederhauser, and Jesus Perez. Students are accompanied by instructors, First Sergeant Hugo Rucobo and Major Ron Wigger, as well as Principal Mr. Luis Martinez. Let's hear it again for the Highlanders. Our next recognition is in honor of 10 JROTC cadets from Hanks High School who took second and third place last month at the International Bataan Memorial Death March Marathon at White Sands Missile Range. Thousands of students, adults, and military members from across the world participated in this year's 26-mile marathon, which commemorates service members who defended the Philippine Islands during World War II. Hanks cadets set a new Ysleta YISD record of 5 hours 4 minutes at this year's marathon, finishing ahead of thousands of active duty American and Allied soldiers and civilian participants. Congratulations to these outstanding cadets. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome JROTC cadets Isaac Aguirre, Tony Bustamante, Fernando Gomez, Isabella Gonzalez, Jose Limon, Rosalba Martinez, David Nunez, Jacqueline Nunez, Luis Orozco, and Silas Perea. Students are accompanied by JROTC instructors, Captain Eileen Williams and First Sergeant Miguel Medina. Also with him is Principal Ms. Gloria Spencer. Keep smiling. Let's hear it again for these outstanding nights. Our final recognition is in honor of the 100th anniversary of JROTC. The proclamation reads, whereas President Woodrow Wilson signed into law the National Defense Act of 1916 that created the Reserve Officers Training Corps, and whereas we celebrate and honor the patriots who fought to protect our democratic ideals, central to the foundation of our country, and whereas we recognize and honor the contributions made by thousands of JROTC graduates from Ysleta YISD to the vital success of the El Paso community and the entire nation. Therefore, we, the Board of Trustees of the Ysleta Independent School District, do hereby proclaim April 20th, 2016 as a day to commemorate the 100th anniversary of ROTC. Proclamation adopted this, the 20th day of April 2016. Here to accept the proclamation are Ysleta YISD Director of Army Instruction, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Dorsey. From Bel Air High School, Cadet Colonel Denise Bayares. And Cadet Command Sergeant Major Jesus Perea. Also help me welcome JROTC instructor Major Ron Wigger. From Hanks High School, we have Cadet Colonel Diana Castillo and JROTC instructor Captain Eileen Williams. Let's hear it one more time for the JROTC. Thank you. This concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Due to legal counsel's recommendations, I'm going to go ahead and read the following. If you have signed up to speak regarding Mr. Gerald Walker, whose grievance the board shall be considering later this evening, any evidence relevant to that grievance should have already been presented by Mr. Walker's attorney or by the administration. As part of the grievance process, as per board policy, you may address the board, if you wish, on the same basis as other persons who have signed up to speak, but nothing you say can be considered by the board as evidence in connection with Mr. Walker's grievance. And with that, Madam Secretary, do we have anyone signed up to speak for public comment?
Yes, President Haggerty. We have Michelle Jensen, subject Coach Walker.
Good evening, Mr. Delatorre and board members. Very few people know this story about the Walkers because they're very humble people. They don't advertise what they do. But I'd like to share a few personal things about them tonight since you will be considering them. 4 years ago, the Walker's son came home and told his parents there was a homeless boy living in a car across the street from McDonald's in a friend's truck. Most parents would have said, gee, that's really sad, but not the Walkers. They went and met with the young man. They took this young man into their family and did almost everything except adopt him, except he was already 18 years old. They spent thousands of dollars, not hundreds, thousands of dollars on this young man. They clothed him, they housed him, they fed him, and they eventually got him into New Mexico State University and gave him money for that too. They loved him and he loved them back. 4 years later, 21, Jacob is now living in Michigan, has a full-time job, and is a success story because of this couple and their efforts over many years to help him. People would ask the Walkers, why are you doing so much? And their answer always was, because it's the right thing to do. That's why we were put here on this earth. They also housed a young girl from Ysleta whose mother, unfortunately, was placed in a psychiatric hospital. So they took her in and housed her till CPS could find a foster care home for her. For the next 10 years, they would pack up their trunk with Christmas gifts and food and deliver that to this young girl named Gabby, to her mother and her apartment, because they had no other family in town. They did this until Gabby and her mother eventually moved away many years later. They have helped renovate trailers, pay utility bills, buy food, clothes, shoes, school supplies for numerous students in this district. I would literally keep you here all night if I went over every single instance of what the Walkers have done for Ysleta students and their families. I want you to know this is the couple you have in front of you tonight. We're not just looking at an employee and his wife, but a couple who is so much more than that. Coach Walker should not be here tonight trying to get his job back. Coach Walker and his wife should be standing in front of you tonight receiving an award for their dedication, their love, and devotion to the families and the students of Ysleta. Thank you.
Debbie Walker, Coach Walker, subject.
Good evening. Coach Walker has been in the district for 35 years, and I have been in the district for 30 years. And we are still working because we love what we do. We love the kids we work with. With age, we don't all get grumpy and old. Many of us are in there because we have the knowledge, the kindness, the caring, and we're still there, and we're going to leave when we know we don't want to do that anymore, but now we love what we're doing. The day my husband, Coach Walker, was terminated, he came home, and he sat in the same chair he has for years, and he cried for hours. And the last time I saw my husband cry was when our son was born 22 years ago. On that day, he lost his dignity and he lost his pride. Coach Walker has been humiliated, and we have been taken away from everything we love so dearly. We started in this district at a very young age, and football at Parkland has been our lives. We have lost everything with this termination. We will no longer be part of the Parkland community. We will no longer be part of the team. When you are a coach's wife, you also develop strong ties with other wives. And now Coach Walker and I are losing friends that have meant so much to us for years. You see, we didn't just go to the football games. We would also go to basketball games, baseball games, and every other activity that took place. A termination like this affects a whole family, and it is a great loss. It has been both hard physically and emotionally to accept. I have a little friend at Parkland who is Down syndrome. He graduated from there, and he sits with me at every football game. William calls me for Christmas, he calls me for Easter, he calls me for Thanksgiving, and he calls every few weeks. And the last call, he told me, I can't wait to see you, Mrs. Walker, at the football game. I have not been able to tell Will that we won't be part of that anymore. I don't know how to explain it to him. I am Coach Walker's voice tonight, and he has asked me to thank Mr. Hume, his ex-principal, for all the years of support, Mr. Boatwright and the Eastwood Middle staff for accepting him and the kindness they have shown him. He wants to thank the Parkland community for their support, his family and friends who have stood by him through this difficult journey, Lynn Coyle, who stood for him when he was at his lowest point of his life and believes in Jerry. And last, he wants to tell his players, former and current, and his football staff that he loves them. So tonight, you, the school board, are the only ones who can give us our lives back, and I am begging that you do so. On his last game, the parents want to put a football program in the honor and possibly name the stadium after Coach Walker. He has done nothing wrong. All his evaluations have been great. There's no documentation against him. Like my son said, his dad, my husband, has the right to go out after 36 years in the district with respect, integrity, and his dignity intact. People involved in this wrongful termination have lost their morals and their values. I will close with the quote Maya Angelou once said, "I've learned that people will forget what you've said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Jerry and I will never, ever forget the way this principal has made us feel.
Next person is Bob Alswip, subject Coach Jerry Walker.
Coach Walker has been my best friend for 40 years. I've known him since 1975, September. 22 years ago, Coach Walker told us he's going to leave a very successful program to coach at Parkland High School. And I asked him why, because back then Parkland was everyone's homecoming game because he never won a game. His first year they did win just one. After that, Parkland became a powerhouse and won district games by district championships. Coach Walker took some of his teams further into the state playoffs than any other team had done before. He became one of the winningest coaches in El Paso. He has a plaque for his 100th win as a football coach, which is quite a feat for any coach, especially at schools like Chapin and Parkland who have military kids who transfer after 15 months or 3 years, and it's hard to keep a team intact doing that. But him and his other coaches did a good job. This is the year he didn't make it for the district championship. The locker room at Parkland is lined with trophies for his success over the past years. This year he probably would have made it to the playoffs, but the quarterback received a concussion before the playoffs. They had to play a sophomore and barely lost that game. Coach Walker's JV team had lost one game, and it's a powerhouse, and he wanted to keep on coaching next year because he knew he was going to have a good team. I've known him for, like I said, for 40 years, and he's held his values and standards up to the children and the kids, and he teaches the kids there's consequences to your actions. Sports, everything you do, there's a penalty for it. Coach Walker's case, I've known him. He did nothing wrong. He lost his job, and all the reply was, I'm going in a new direction. Well, the direction, because I asked him, he has another job, and people go, well, Coach Walker's got another job. Yes, he does, but if he kept that job, he would be making $25,000 less than what he's doing this year. So I don't think any of us can lose $25,000. If there was something wrong, he did something wrong, recruiting, playing a child with a concussion, hadn't passed a protocol, that's something else. But just to get passed over because someone wants to, this is not fair, so I'm asking you to please take in consideration, do the right thing, and reinstate Coach Walker. Thank you.
Next person, Jerry K. Walker, subject Coach Walker.
Good evening. My dad taught me many things growing up. One was to always keep my values, morals, and treat others with dignity, kindness, and respect. I was home from college for Thanksgiving, and I had to go to Parkland to help my dad move in his things. I was standing in the locker room looking at all the trophies and my pictures lining his office wall. and I couldn't believe that this was happening to him. I had photos myself from when I was a child there. It meant a lot to him. We did okay on the first trip, but on the second trip to Parkland, my mom broke down and started to cry. I had to witness the pain and suffering that it caused him. My dad lost a lot of weight and had to go to a cardiologist. Their health is not the same, and this is affecting our lives. Thank you.
President Haggerty, that's all
Thank you, ma'am.
the speakers.
During the April 18th Agenda Review Workshop, consent item number 9 was pulled by Secretary Duenas for discussion. Consent item 11 was pulled by Trustee McLean to change title and to include policy BBG. Policy action item number 2 and number 4 were pulled off this agenda by administration. Are there any other consent items you would like to discuss or any further discussion on the order of this agenda?
I'd like to pull consent 3 for a separate motion.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'd like to pull 4.
Number 4?
Yes. And
With that, using the electronic voting, may I have a motion on the revised order of the agenda? Ditto? If not, may I have a verbal motion? There we go. Get a second? Everyone can vote. Motion passes 7-0. Would improve the minutes for the February 29th, 2016 workshop, March 2nd, 2016 regular board meeting, and March 28th, 2016 special board meetings. May I have a motion on the minutes approval? I have a motion and a second. Motion passes 7-0 on the minutes approval. The order of the agenda has been approved, but are there any other consent items anyone would like to discuss? Yes, ma'am.
Trying to look for got so much writing in it, but let's see. I'd like to pull 5.
We're pulling 3, 4, and 5, correct?
11 has been pulled, right?
So may I have a motion on the remaining consent agenda items listed on the agenda as recommended by the administration? We have a motion and a second, and we have a discussion.
I would just like to ask, number 4 had already been pulled by administration. Are we still going to consider that one?
That was action item number 4.
Action item?
No?
Policy 4?
It was,
Oh, action item. Okay. Never mind.
consent, it was 3, 4, and 5. 11, And there was one other one. 9? Yes, sir, 9. 3, 4, 5, 9, and 11. Any others? Now we have a motion and a second, if everyone can vote. Motion passes 7-0. We now address the pulled consent agenda items. Consent item number 3, consider and take possible action to approve YISD contract 2016-0361 with Blackboard to provide licensed software and services for web hosting. Term shall be 12 months following the effective date and shall be renewed automatically for successive periods of 1 year after the expiration of the initial term and any subsequent renewal term unless either party with written notice to the contrary 60 days prior to the end of the initial term or renewal term in the amount of $99,955 from local funds. Is there a discussion? There's no discussion. May I please have a motion on consent item number 3? I have a motion and a second. Dr. De La Torre, does administration have a recommendation on this item?
Yes, President Haggerty, members of the board, the administration would recommend approving YISD contract 2016-0361 with Blackboard to provide licensed software and services for web hosting for 12 months following the effective date, and with the option to renew automatically for successive periods of 1 year after the expiration of the initial term.
Thank you. Everyone can go ahead and vote. Motion passes 7-0. The consent item number 4, if I can. Thank you. Consent item number 4, consider and take possible action to approve YISD Cooperative Requisition 29937 with Verco Inc. for the purchase of furniture in the amount of $394,646 to purchasing cooperative from various district funds. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to know what's going to be done to that furniture that is in the school right now?
The old furniture?
Yes.
The old furniture will be evaluated, and depending on the condition of the furniture, we'll have to make a decision as to whether to place it on the surplus list or to use it at other schools throughout the district.
And that furniture can be used for that school right now? I mean, it's according to the beginning of when we voted for the leadership, this was not going to cost the district too much money. And I was just wondering, I just wanted to get the information on this.
Yeah, the furniture certainly could be used at the new school. I think one of the things that we made a commitment to was making sure that the school was attractive to the students, to the faculty, to the staff, because it has attracted so many students, not just from within the district, but from neighboring school districts, and we want to make sure that we start off on the right foot.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Matt, may I please have we already have a motion and a second. Dr. De La Torre, does administration have a recommendation on consent item number 4?
Yes, President Haggerty, members of the board, the administration would recommend the approval of YISD Cooperative Requisition 29937 with Verco Incorporated for the purchase of furniture in the amount of $394,646 through a purchasing cooperative from various district funds.
Thank you, sir. Motion passes 7-0. And item number 5, consider and take possible action to approve monthly financial statements as identified in a separate index, include quarterly investment reports as of February 29, 2016. Is there discussion?
Yes.
If there is, can you click your little button?
Oh, I keep forgetting. I'm kind of getting not used to this, but eventually I will. Ms. Leeper, I have a question on this. A lot of the percentage on the budgets were a little higher. Is this normal for this time of the year?
Can you tell
On
me
the-
what page you're looking at so I know?
Well, actually, it's all of them that you got, like, for instance, on the first one, which would be 7.5A, you've got the 143%, 80%, and some of them are a little bit higher.
Okay, so I'm not sure what you're seeing, but on packet page 35, I'm looking, well, that's debt service. Let's look at general fund. Now I see where you are. You're talking about federal revenues, and we've earned 143.8. So what that's telling you is that we budgeted a number, and we've actually earned 143%. So 43% more than what we budgeted, we've earned. We got all the federal revenue, and that's typically grants or other title monies that are coming to us. So it just means that we collected more than we budgeted on the revenue side.
Okay, how about on page 7.5A?
Okay.
Again, the revenues, and I guess it's like the, trying to think, I just got.
So on the top half of that page, in this particular page, we're looking at the Child Nutrition Services Fund. On the top half of the page is the revenue, right? And that percentage overall of 67.31 means that of the 100% of revenue we've budgeted, we've collected 67.31% through February 29th. And then in the expenditure side, we've only spent 62.68% of total expenditures budgeted.
Okay. How about on the debit services?
On the debt service?
Mm-hmm.
So there, we have collected 148% of the revenue that we anticipated coming into the debt service fund, and we've spent, so we've almost paid all of our debt service. We probably have paid all of our debt service for the year, so we're right at 100% of debt service has been paid.
Do you have any further questions?
No, that's pretty much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Due to a software glitch, can I get a verbal motion on consent item number 5?
Mr. President, I move that we take action to approve monthly financial statements as identified in a separate index, including quarterly investment reports as of February 29th, 2016.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. De La Torre, do we have a recommendation from administration?
The administration would recommend the approval of monthly financial statements as identified in a separate index, including quarterly investment reports as of February 29th, 2016.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Consent item number 9. Consider and take possible action to approve revised YISD instructional calendar for the 2016-17 school year. Is there a discussion?
Was that pulled by me? I think so. Yeah, okay. I pretty
If you
much
just hit
got
the speak button or just
from Ms. O'Neill the explanation, so I think my question was answered. Thank you.
I get a motion on consent item number 9?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the YISD instructional calendar for 2016-2017 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? And passes 7-0. Consent item number 11, consider and take possible action to approve the 2016-17 board operating procedures. Is there discussion?
Yes,
Yes, or if we can get your speak.
that's 11, right?
Push your speak. I think just the voting part's missed. We have Ms. Woodruff first.
Oh, okay.
Faster on the button.
I would like to maybe speak to the board about this more than even anybody else here, but the problem that that I saw happening today is that we have one board member who has used his money up for this time, but he was actually elected to represent our whole area to go and for TASB for the laws, making, the legislative, what's it called again?
Legislative Advisory Committee.
Yeah, Legislative Advisory Committee. So now it's going to leave him to take money out of his own pocket to attend a function that he was elected to attend by the whole area. I kind of wish that we could, not wish, but I would think that we ought to take into consideration this, and when those kinds of situations come up, that should be moved into a separate account or a separate fund so that he could be able to represent us as he was elected to do. So I don't know how that should be added to our board operating procedures, but I feel like we need to make some adjustment to that, considering that he is doing this for not just our board, but for the whole region. So that's what I'd like to say.
I agree. I think your comments make perfect sense. I don't get a button.
He doesn't get.
You're up.
Me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I agree on this. I think we should do our own board policies instead of having administration do them for us and just bringing them forward to us. I think we should sit down ourselves and do them ourselves and discuss among ourselves instead of having somebody else do them for us. A lot of times we ask questions. We do never, sometimes I don't get mine answered, and time goes by and it's ignored. I think this should be the board doing the decisions, not administration doing decisions for the board. And since I started, we had been doing our board procedures. We had been trained to do them, and for us to decide, but not to have somebody else decide them for us. So I think what we should do here is go back to the system instead of having and doing them ourselves. This is what we were elected to do, and this is our job, to be doing board procedures. Otherwise, we're wasting our time coming here and doing what other people want us to do, and that's wrong. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mrs. McLean.
Yes, I wasn't aware of the item that Ms. Connie Woodruff brought up with regard to the trustee that was selected to go out to the LAC. I think definitely we need to consider that, put it on the agenda, and we can talk about it. Definitely, that needs to be something that, that the individual should not have to pay out of pocket to attend those meetings. I agree full-heartedly. I do feel that it is important at this time, since this new information wasn't brought forward during the workshop or when we were working on the board operating procedures at that workshop, that that we continue with the changes to the board operating procedures that we had originally discussed. In addition, that those board operating procedures reflect that the travel budget for the board be divided amongst the 7 of us evenly, and that those funds be used that way, that these board operating procedures go into effect immediately, and that the date be changed from the 2016-17 that was proposed to the 2015-16. So I think that, the travel monies that are in the budget are adequate. I think that I've not seen yet any discussion or new items that have been brought forth from the trainings that the trustees have attended. And then I think that's definitely what needs to happen. The trainings are not supposed to happen in a vacuum. The trustees are supposed to come back to the district with new ideas, new information, and utilize that for the improvement and betterment of the district. So therefore, I am ready to make a motion.
We still have more speakers signed up. Mr. Pearson?
Yes, in case there's some confusion out there, I know I look up here and see, about a month ago, we spent about 3-4 hours all together adopting these procedures, going through every line. So the board operating procedures are ours. No one gave them to us. They're ours. We developed them. So it's not like they came from administration. Everybody here had input, and they're ours.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rosales?
So that everybody knows who's out of money, it's me. And point well taken, Mr. Pearson and Ms. McLean. I just want to make this point. I was asked to attend several meetings because we're new board members. The funny thing about and I'm going to visit with the county. I'm out of money, and again, Mr. Ramirez, I think still has money, or are you out of money? We've been to the same meetings together, so maybe we need another audit or something, but I am not into spending taxpayers' money for the sake of spending it. I'm not into spending $500 for a lunch or whatever. I'm in here because I made a decision to step forward and take a leadership position in this district. But by the same token, the way it's all done, you require me to go, well, I've been required to attend certain meetings, and you take it against my budget, and yet you guys have already been to those meetings, you don't have to go, so your budget is fine. I brought the numbers here, but we're not here to debate. I'm just making my point that even though, yes, the board operating procedures, had I known that this was going to occur, I would have been the first person to say, wait a minute, we need to make some adjustments here. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Now, if it need be that I have to pay, thank the good Lord that I can. But that's not the point. The point is that if you ask me to attend, currently I was in Austin over the weekend with the legislative agenda, tremendous amount of information, but it's a lot of iffy issues because these issues are going to go before the legislators. And when you go before legislators, anything can happen. But basically, and the main point here is the adequate funding. And there's some other list of other issues, but those are the things that I've been elected to attend, and I'm out of money, and I don't understand. So I need clarification from either from you or the accounting or somebody. As far as the accountability, I don't mind going to accounting and saying where I'm at, et cetera, but we got to provide enough money for the board members to be able to sustain the required expenses to these meetings. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Duenas?
Yes, just like Mr. Rosales had said, we are being elected to new positions, either out of town or within the district or anything. And if it's in the within the area, it's fine. But when we're having to leave town, I think there should not be any reason why we cannot go because of the funds, and that has been restricted by some of the board members. I think we should all be equal, and being that this is something that we have to represent our district and make sure that we are well represented, I don't think there should be any objections to any of our travel money. Thank you.
Mrs. McLean?
Well, currently, the travel budget for the board members is $28,000. We have now, because we're merging into this new system, are now allowing ourselves $4,000 for travel. I understand that as a new board member, there's certain requirements that you attend certain schools. I've been on the board 5 years. I've gone to nationals one time. I find that one TASB training covers all my credits that I need, because there's so much work to be done here, and there was so much information here at Ysleta that needs to be absorbed that, I think we have adequate money in the regular budget. Now, again, to your point about these extra committees that you're on, that I think that needs to be a separate budget, and that needs to be an agenda item, and we need to talk about that issue separately. But I think with $4,000 apiece, I think that should be adequate. And with, like I said, one time that you go to TASB, whether it's in the summer or the fall or the winter, should be enough to cover their credits that are required, per year. I've always felt that there is so much here that I needed to learn that I couldn't spend so much time out traveling, that it was time that I could be spending here on Ysleta matters.
Mr. Pearson.
I just wanted to concur with Ms. McLean that $4,000 is plenty of money to travel for a year, and I would bet that's a lot more than a lot of principals have to travel for a year. So, and they're on the front line.
Please.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Haggerty, being that you're the president, can you address that for us instead of Ms. McLean?
I was just waiting for everybody to finish.
Thank you.
Mr. Rosales?
Recently, you take a flight to, for example, Los Angeles, you could get a flight for $99. It costs you $500 to get out there. It's close to $400. That's a differential. And I don't mind the budgeting. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not here to extract money. I'm not for that. I think if we're going to be responsible, then we need to pick a number or make adjustments for issues like myself. If you elect to go to one national, that's your prerogative. Okay? If I elect to go to two, that's my prerogative. But by the same token, as long as, in my opinion, as long as we do not abuse, I don't see any, and again, I'm not here to debate, I'm just pointing out the issues. I feel that we need to visit this issue and look at it a little bit more closely, Mr. President.
I agree with you, sir. I think that we ask a lot of brand new board members. I think that anytime you have an opportunity to go to training, better yourself and to be able to be a better board member for this district. I applaud you for it. I don't think you should be having to pay out of your pocket for a voluntary position, especially with the Legislative Advisory Committee where we appointed you, have asked you to go as our representative, but then to make you pay for it isn't right. As far as the $4,000, sure, it's great if you're a regular board member attending regular meetings. It doesn't seem like there's any issue at all, but when we do ask for extras, when we do find out with certain conferences not soon enough to get the nice flight tickets, then it does cost a little bit more. But as far as why it was set in place, I understand why it was set in place. Certainly we want to be fiscally responsible, but nobody up here is abusing travel monies by any means. My opinion. And after having said that, no one else in the queue, if I could get a motion on consent item number 11.
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the board operating procedures to reflect the dates of 2015-16 rather than 2016-17. Board operating procedures may be revised in order to reflect possible future revisions to policy BBG local, provided, however, that each trustee should be able to utilize up to 1/7 of the total annual budget for trustee travel for the current fiscal year, and that these board operating procedures become effective immediately.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Motion fails 5-2. We'll move on to the action items. Action item number 1, consider and take possible action to approve award of YISD solicitation Bond 03 RFQ BP 15 Parkland Middle School addition and renovations for $10,000 for pre-construction services at 3.25% of cost of construction from bond funds contingent upon final negotiations and legal counsel review with final contracts including guaranteed maximum price and estimated cost of construction presented at a subsequent board meeting. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. What if you can hit your button?
I'm sorry?
Or speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. And it's calling me there. But, okay, I have a question, and I guess I'm finding it hard. Not that I'm against what, but it's the way it's worded and the way it is done. I'm trying to find, and I'm trying to understand the situation. Do we have anybody from VLK?
Mr. John Klein is here from VLK Architects.
Good evening, President Haggerty, Dr. Del Torre, Board. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My question is this something that for instance, VLK is helping us find architect and engineer, right, to design this project?
We have an architect that's on board.
Oh, it is an architect
yes,
already?
That's on board, but this is for the construction manager that will actually construct the project once the architect has completed the design.
Okay, so this is like for pre-construction, right?
Right, and so what they'll help us with, since this is a complicated project, they'll help us with the phasing and also possibly give us some ideas on how we could have cost savings. But it's more of a team effort, whereas if you were to put the documents out and then bid it, the contractor comes on board after the design is completed, whereas this would be completed, the CM is on board before the design is completed.
Okay, so then this would be $10,000 for this person? I mean, that's what I don't understand. Isn't that what VLK is supposed to be doing? Making sure that working with the engineer and architect instead of having somebody else do that? Why would it have to be coming from our district? Can it come from your money, from VLK's?
Well, it's all part of the project cost. So within, I guess, each budget, there is an amount designated for construction cost and soft costs, and so there's other areas within that, but this would come from what would be the construction cost of the project. And so we're bringing the CM on board to help us with the pre-construction services, and they'll be helping us with estimating and then also with phasing of how the project will work and what areas they'll be tearing down and so forth. So,
well, can you explain to me what the pre-construction is? Isn't that the design?
no, this would be the estimating and also teaming with the design team to help them out with, I guess, like I said, the phasing and how the project would be constructed. So it's, again, a more of a team effort that we're working with here. We're having the contractor on board.
And Ms.
with the
Duenas, if
design.
I could jump in real quickly, also, this is such a complex project because we're going to have to move electricity that's located, in the old part of the building's going to be torn down. our technology. Looks like we're going to have to bring some portables in. There's a lot to this project, and we need them on board before the actual construction starts. They're going to go hand in hand with the architect, the civil engineer, electrical engineer, and help with all the planning, because it is so complex, because the part that's going to be rebuilt is currently surrounded by building that's going to stay there. So we're going to need their expertise and go hand in hand with those people in the design so it'll go seamless. And I don't know if I explained that, but we really need them on board at this time.
Well, I mean, that's why I understand having to pay another person what we already paid VLK to do, and we're paying extra for this person to do and be looking over the engineers and architects on what they're doing.
Remember, VLK is, I'm sorry, Dr. Delatorre.
We're paying a contractor to work closely with the architect, because sometimes the architect may design something that the contractor may not believe is practical, or they may have a different idea of how to do it. They'd bring estimators in to see whether or not it can be done for what has been budgeted. Those estimators determine what it will take to build what the design team has drawn on paper. And if you don't bring them into the process early, then what you do is you allow a design team to go through and develop all of the documents. Takes up a lot of time, only to have a contractor come back in and say that what you've designed may not be practical, may be too expensive, may be difficult to implement because of the staging we need to do. By that I mean because students are still in the building. So the CM at risk is a process where the contractor is introduced into the design team, not because they need to help design it, but because they need, I think, to work very closely together, so when the time comes to implement construction, both the architect and the general contractor understand what they're undertaking, and they also develop what's called the maximum guaranteed price. In other words, they arrive at a conclusion that the project is going to cost X, and it has to cost either X or less than X.
Mr. Rosales?
The money that we're talking about is already in the bond. So all we're doing is moving money from the approved bond amount.
Yes, sir.
To pay for the pre-construction, and
Yes,
then
sir.
the
It's
additional
already part of,
3.25.
in this
Is
case,
that
the
correct?
Parkland Middle School budget.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not additional monies.
Thank you.
Ms. Duenas?
Yes, I still am having a hard time. Why pay the $10,000 more extra when we have VLK working with the architect and the construction companies?
Because VLK is not a general contractor. VLK is an architect. So you could have.
So there are architect.
There are
people
program manager.
The managers then?
Yes.
So they have nothing to do with.
We're managing the bond. We don't have general contractors. We're not doing any of the architectural work on the projects. We're managing the bond. So we're hiring these companies to design and construct your facilities.
So you're not working with them to advise them or work together, or we have to pay extra for somebody to come in and decide for you all?
Again, it's not extra. It's already in the construction budget.
So it's going to be subtracted from the project?
Right, and one way of looking at it is Eastwood High School is a $93 million project, and we're talking about a $10,000 fee. So it's almost irrelevant. And what we're doing is taking that $10,000 to have them come in early in the process as a general contractor to help with materials and the estimation of what it will cost to build what the design team has designed.
But this was never explained to us. This was never told. This was said it was going to be extra?
It's not extra. It's in the budget. It's been assumed from day one that when we go CM at risk, and when this board approved the CM at risk as one of the methodologies, I believe they went through and thoroughly explained what it means to use a construction manager at risk methodology, and that is to make sure that the design team and the general contractor are in agreement as to what it means to build Parkland Middle School. And so the $10,000 out of, in this case, a $13 million budget is simply to enter into that relationship so that the general contractor can have access to some of the information that the design team is putting out and be able to react to it in two ways. One, to see whether or not they believe it's practical or feasible to accomplish, but more importantly, to begin and price out what it will cost to build what they've drawn so that they can arrive at a guaranteed maximum price that falls within the budget that not just VLK, but that Jacobs also allocated for that type of project.
Well, since you said it's on the, we got a copy of it, can I have something in copy?
You can.
Okay, how soon can I have it?
You can have it probably within a day or two of, do we have the presentation on the different methodologies that we did 2 months ago?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Berkelback came and did that presentation for us that evening. So we'll get that from Mr. Berkelback, and we'll get it out to the board members tomorrow if that's...
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Williams, under the screen that was provided for us, under the bond RFQ, oh, I'm sorry, never mind. I'm heading in the wrong direction with him, sorry. Never mind.
I move to award Baines General Contractors Incorporated YSD Solicitation Bond 03 RFQ BP 15 Parkland Middle School addition and renovations for $10,000 for pre-construction services and 3.25% of cost of construction from bond funds contingent upon final negotiations and legal counsel review with final contracts, including guaranteed maximum price, GMP, and estimated costs of construction presented at a subsequent board meeting. And it looks like the electronic voting is working again too. So if I can get a second. Have a second. Dr. De La Torre, does administration have a recommendation on action item number 1?
President Haggerty, members of the board, the administration strongly recommends approval of award YISD Solicitation Bond 3 RFQ BP 15 Parkland Middle School addition and renovations, $10,000 for pre-construction services and 3.25% of cost of construction from bond funds, contingent upon final negotiations and legal counsel review, with final contracts including a guaranteed maximum price and estimated cost of construction presented at a subsequent board meeting.
Thank you, sir. One more. Motion passes 7-0. Policy action items. We have 2. Policy action item number 1, review Texas Association of School Boards TASB legal policies from updates 104 to be incorporated into the YISD Board of Trustees policy manual. Is there discussion? There is no discussion. May I have? Yes,
Wait, let me see. Have we voted on any of these policies yet?
no, we're doing it now. Just number 1.
Are
and
we
number
going to be
3.
doing one by one?
Yes.
Electronical? Okay.
Well, I don't know about electronic.
Oh, number 1 is just information? So we're just voting on 3 and 4?
Just number 3. Number 4 was pulled.
Just 3?
Number 3, consider and take possible action to adopt proposed TASB policy update 104, revisions to these local policies, EEH, instructional arrangements, homebound instruction, FB, equal education opportunity, FD, admissions, FEB, attendance accounting, FFC, student welfare, student support services, and FFH, student welfare, freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. Is there discussion? There is no discussion. May I please get a motion and a second on the policy? Dr. De La Torre, does administration have a recommendation on this policy?
The administration would ask that the board take action and adopt the proposed TASB policy update number 104 revisions to these local policies, EEH, instructional arrangements. Homebound instruction. FB, equal educational opportunity. FD, admissions. FEB, attendance, attendance accounting. FFC, student welfare, student support services. And FFH, student welfare, freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation.
Thank you, sir. Everyone can vote. Motion passes 6-1. Board of Trustees has determined that a closed meeting of the Board of Trustees is required to discuss the items set forth in the posted agenda for this date. Such closed meeting is authorized by Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.001, including but not limited to the sections and purposes covered by the following section of the Texas Government Code, 551.071, 72, 73, 74, 76, 82, 821, 83, and 84. Should any final decision, action, or vote be required with regard to any matter considered in closed session, the final action, decision, or vote shall be in the open meeting or at a subsequent public meeting with notice. The board will now move to the Rio Grande Room for closed session at 7:35 p.m.
That's why. Into close session.
I reconvene in open session this meeting at 8:07 p.m. with the following present: Mr. Rosales, Mr. Ramirez, Mrs. Woodruff, Mr. Pearson, Mrs. McLean, Ms. Duenas, and myself, Shane Haggerty. Our action item number 1, consider and take possible action regarding Lara versus Ysleta ISD. Is there any discussion? No discussion. I move that we authorize administration to complete settlement discussions as discussed in closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, cool. Dr. De La Torre, does administration have a recommendation on this item?
The administration would recommend approval of legal counsel's direction as discussed in closed session.
All the votes have been cast. Motion is approved, 6-1. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting with a 10-minute break to open the Level 3 grievance meeting if there is no other discussion or comments?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are adjourned at 8:08.